Yeah, so it turns out yesterday's emergency was not even an emergency. You know, my son interrupted me while I was making a video. After I've told him many times to make sure that when I'm making a video, not to interrupt me while I'm making a video, because I'm already in a certain flow when I'm making any video. I'm in a flow. I don't edit videos or anything like that. So, you know, the same way I made examples of when I you know, let's say I wake up in the morning and I want to document my dreams. I make the initial intent to write my dreams down and remember my dreams, even though they're kind of vague. Just the initial act of me picking up a pen and paper, and even before I even step foot on the floor off my bed, I have to make sure I'm documenting this. But there's that, even though everything's vague, just that initial act is of me starting to write down the dream. Everything just starts to come in and it starts to surface. I remember these dreams now fluidly, you know. And why do I write the dreams down? For documentations and journals. So sometimes when I'm making videos, I'm in a certain flow, but it may have been that I am inspired to make a video from a certain topic I may have heard, something I may have watched, or something I heard that I just want to, you know, make a video. And most of the time, I've said this in many videos, that most of my videos are journals, you know, and they're journals for me that I can go back and look at, and it's been a very useful tool. You know, I could even see what energies I've been in at certain points in time. I was currently watching a video from Corey on addictions and whatnot, and I like videos that are thought-provoking, but it stimulated me to even go back to some of my videos that I've made, only because I know I've been in that space before of certain addictions that are very, very hard to overcome. So much so that I even made a separate playlist on just addictions. I made a separate playlist with 4 videos on, you know, I speak on marijuana, addictions, and, you know, energetically and spiritually, how they impact you and whatnot, or what how to even manage them, you know. And I was in that space, but just upon me looking back at those videos, it served as a lot of reminders for me, you know, which is why I say these videos are very useful for that reason. And these videos were recorded maybe a year or two ago, and they serve as reminders, you know. And I go back and I'm like, wow, I was in that space. And I remember, so I go back and I'm like, wow. And it really, really was phenomenal to go back and hear some of these videos. So if you're interested, go into my playlist. It's under addictions. There are about 4 videos in there, and I speak on the topic of addictions, but so much so that I'm actually going to make another video at the mental state and where I'm at now, as far as where that topic goes with addictions and, you know, energy. It could be into marijuana, it could be anything, food, you know, addicted to food, addicted to sex like porn, or even just sex in general. I'm gonna make another video on that. But yeah, I want to continue on with what I was talking about yesterday with the topic of, you know, vampiric energy and whatnot. And, you know, I was talking about how just observing certain content creators, you know, they require your attention. And, you know, you are basically watching their content, but they are giving you their points of view and ideas, plus their own opinions on how they perceive their reality to be. You hear what I'm saying? And it could be very, very good information, thought-provoking information that's very, very good, right? But nobody says that somebody being high vibrational is the only way that you get great information. The devil itself can give you great information, and the devil is perceived to be a low vibrational entity. Demons are perceived to be low vibrational entities. We perceive angels to be in a higher frequency, a higher vibration, and we only trust that information, right? But the whole thing is that, look, here's where I'm going to get at with this. When you consume food, and I mentioned this yesterday, you could be consuming the most nutritious meal, high vitamins, high nutrients. But if the energy served that to you behind it is malicious to some extent, where it's like in the interest of a profit, or there's ulterior motives behind that meal being served to you, then the energy is to some extent corrupt. Grandma's home cooking could be the most unhealthiest meal because of what we've been told healthy meals and unhealthy meals are. Then that meal, because it's served with so much love, will sit better with you, right? But it's to say that there's certain things we call calories and empty calories. What do you get out of it, right? But everything is energy to some extent at the end of the day, right? So let's say, for example, if you have a certain content creator and they're giving you the information, because the only reason I even make the comparison between food and the information is because food is information for the body. You know what I'm saying? So the devil has to let you know what it's doing before it does it, right? Now, the information is great. It's beautiful information, thought-provoking, all right? But if they're coming from a space where it's still, let's say it puts you in a space where it's you versus them, right? You know, I gave the example of when I went to church and, you know, the whole body and blood of Christ. And when you look at religion, they tell you, you know, it's against God to drink blood because the blood is the life. And if it's intact with the flesh and whatnot, to that extent, we look at the word against, and against meaning if you're drinking and consuming the blood of Christ, it's a vampiric type of energy, because what they require from you is your faith, belief, and imagination. When you watch content creators, they depend on you to believe what it is that they're saying. They depend on you to have faith that they know what they're talking about. They depend on you to support them, right? Because either way, support and against is no different than love and hate. Support, you support somebody, or I'm against you, right? But if you look at the word against, drinking blood is against God. If I tell you lean on me, I am going to be a support unit for you. You have to lean against me, and you depend on my support, right, to hold you up. So the same way, when you look at these words that look like they're contradictory to each other, they actually mean the same fucking thing. Love and hate. That's why they say there's a thin line between love and hate as well, right? It's two sides of the same coin. So when somebody tells you it's against God, okay, you become that vampire once you drink the vampire's blood. They depend on your support, your faith, belief, and imagination, which is their superpower. No different than the same way the content creators believe in that. And the only reason I'm even mentioning this is because I mentioned this yesterday in the video. If you were in your seat of empowerment, you wouldn't even be seeking shit. You would know who you are. You're in your seat of empowerment. And most of the time, the real people who have power aren't even the people who are out exposing themselves all the time. Now, I'm not telling you what to do, and I'm not telling you that it's one way is the empowered way and one way is not. However, how do you feel upon listening to the information from certain people, regardless of how good the information is? Some people think that this is an actual place. You get what I'm saying? Some people think that it's you versus them. The whole people you perceive to be against you, okay, are actually leaning on you, all right, depending on you to keep them up. Because the moment you stop supporting them, they fall apart. Who's got the real power here, though? Right? Who's got the real power here? If they depend on you to hold up this structure, right? You have a human body, right? This human body is the government that you seek outside of you. It's a big ass mind. It's mind controlled by what you perceive outside of you, all right? That you think is separate to you, and it is actually you. Okay? Nothing in the world is going to change. You can only change the way you really see things, because in actuality, creation's already made. Okay? If you actually take control of riding your dragon, because your vibrational state and frequency and your perception about life is the life you'll experience here. Okay? So if I'm living my life, perceiving life a certain way, I'm going to attract in my life, by your consent, okay, what you're going to get, right? It's like an implied consent, right? Where your silence can be consent as well. Some people say, well, I didn't say that. Well, just your silence itself is a consent. You don't have to literally say, yes, I do, or yes, I don't, or no, I don't. You know what I'm saying? But just even being silent is a consent. So let's say, for example, you're hearing these words is no different than looking at a contract and not reading the fine print. So sometimes you hear these words, the words sound very nice, and that's why, you know, you get programmed with certain words. There's neuro-linguistic programming. There's a bunch of different ways to look at this. But just know this, like when I was in church, I really thought I was drinking the body and blood of Christ. But don't forget, vampires are very hypnotic, right? They can hypnotize you. And they actually, I was talking to Genevieve at one point, and I told, she put up a video of like when she was in Canada, but the way I'm perceiving it, it looked like it was very cold. There was snow everywhere. The sky was gray, and it was nice. It was a very nice town, but everything looked really, really, it looked like the heart of winter. And I remember I typed to her, I'm like, wow, that's beautiful, but it looks like it's cold as fuck over there. And then she told me, she's like, wow, I didn't realize it was cold until you mentioned it. But what did I do? I crystallized that for her. And listen, I just said that vampires are hypnotic, but humanity is vampiric to some extent. Just humanity in and of itself. Sometimes we do things without even noticing we're doing things, you know? And upon me telling her that, I crystallized that reality for her. And that's happened even to me before. You know what I'm saying? That's happened to me before, where I'm like, you know, it was cold, but I'm outside, I'm having a good time. My mind wasn't on cold. I was on something else. And somebody said, fuck, it's cold out here. And upon that person saying that, I all of a sudden started to feel chills. I'm like, oh shit, it is fucking cold out here. You know? So I want you to watch a short clip. And this is why there's going to give you an example of what I was talking about when it came down to, you know, drinking blood of Christ in church. You don't literally have to be drinking blood, but in actuality, you are drinking that blood of Christ. And it is consuming that essence of that vampiric energy that's requiring your faith, belief, and imagination in return. My imagination, my belief, and my faith toward what my parents told me, which is nothing but more support toward a system outside that's supposedly to seem corrupted. But that's because I wasn't aware, and that's the God. That's the sleeping giant inside that's not aware. But once you become aware, right, that's God. That's the awareness that's required for you to know what decisions to make out here, to know what you should be consuming, what you should not be consuming, what's serving you and what serves things outside of you, as far as like even serving humanity. Serving humanity is serving your body in general, because the body and the blood of Christ is what you are embodied with and intertwined with and hardwired like a well-oiled machine. That's why even you saying, oh, I'm not perfect, only God is perfect, you separated yourself from God in that state. Your body is perfect. Everything about your body is perfect. The imperfect one is the innocence, but not innocent. In actuality, you're born innocent, but you become ignorant. That's an ignorant statement to say. To say, I'm not perfect, only God is perfect. You are perfect. Your body's perfect. You always get in the way of the body in its perfection. Right? But it's by persuasion, right? Everything is in the interest of a profit outside of you. But how do you manage yourself in your life? Are you managing yourself in a way where you're doing things in the interest of a profit as well? Are you managing, because everything is mirrors, it's a whole of mirrors, projecting and reflecting. But then again, you got to also be careful that you're not gaslighting yourself too. I'm just doing all this to myself, and then you become a victim, because that's the whole thing. It's a little fine line between all the shit that happens out here, between you being in that sweet spot to make proper decisions that better you, but also in kind. Because it bettered you, it betters everybody else as well, because your world is you inverted inside out. Humanity outside of you is you. You could be the many faces of God that we see out here, whether it be the Jesus that says turn the other cheek when you get slapped, or the one that says the eye for an eye, or the one that's just observing everything, right? So these are all energies that are out here. Whether it's high vibrational, low vibrational, love and hate, it's two sides of the same coin. But you utilize these things as a tool to your advantage. But just be aware, and listen to me carefully. You have to when you listen to people online, listen to the information. It's valuable. The information, look, internet is very useful. It's been a useful tool for me. But you got to find that sweet spot to the point where you become too dependent on it. That's where it starts to be misused. You know, that's where it starts to be misused. Because you really need nothing out here. Nothing. But you use things just like you're using the body for a period of time what is the purpose and point to you using that body? But I want to show you this clip, and I'll make some other points in another video. I don't want to make this video too long. I want you to check this out real quick. I'm going to put it over here so that this way I can check this out.
Eating time, come and get it, boys. All right.
Let me make sure I can get a good angle here.
Good choice. Over here, bud.
This is from the movie Lost Boys.
You don't like rice? Tell me, Michael, how could a billion Chinese people be wrong?
There we go.
Come on.
Check this out.
How are those maggots? Maggots, Michael. You're eating maggots. How do they taste?
Leave him alone.
Just check out how the illusion over here works. It's just rice.
Sorry about that. No hard feelings, huh? No. Why don't you try some noodles? Worms. I mean, they're worms. Tony! They're only noodles, Michael.
Worms. That's enough.
Chill out, girl.
I'm going to link this video in the description so you can check it out. Now, this is wine. Now, upon the first two experiences he had, watch what happens here.
Drink some of this, Michael. Be one of us.
Listen to this.
Michael. You don't have to, Michael.
Michael.
It's blood.
See, now he doesn't believe it.
Sure.
So you see that? I mean, lean against, right? So you drink the blood when you go to church, okay? And you are basically intaking that vampiric blood because they require something in return, right? And that return is your superpowers, your faith, belief, and your imagination. And some aspect of the game, it's used against you. Now, you polarize to one idea of what angels and God is, and then when you look at demons and devils and Satan and all that, that is what you're against. But meanwhile, what side of the spectrum do you sit on? Right? Who's the observer? Who is God? Where is God? Right? There's I mean, I've read a few versions of the Bible, and there's different versions of this God or Jesus that we speak on, right? They also say that when you eat meat, it is against God as well, right? Now, understand this. When you eat, what exactly are you feeding? No different than when you listen to information, right? Some things are feeding your ego, and some things are feeding your soul. We call some things soul food for a reason. And sometimes that soul food, right, is not the foods that we consider healthy meals, right? Soul food would be what I just mentioned before about grandma's home cooking. Meanwhile, you think you're eating some real healthy meal, but it's backed up by some energy that's only feeding to be a healthy human, right? Some people really are vegans or become vegetarians and it's just for vanity purposes. Like some people are just in love with the philosophy of being vegan, but there's no spiritual or metaphysical essence backed up to that. Because you know how many vegan people I speak to and they say, well, I'm not really into metaphysics. They're only just into the logic and reasoning side of things, the intellectual side of things. But if you look at vegan food, most of the vegans eat genetically modified food, including mock meats that are not even real meats. So if you start to really look at it from a spiritual purity of things, I mean, just eating the animal is a lot more natural than eating of a meat that was designed in a laboratory. So when you start to talk about the concept of you are what you eat, right? And then I start to tie in other things, which I'm going to get into about AI and merging with AI and whatnot, and the things that start to interest you after a while. If the God in you is asleep and you're not aware of why you get turned on or like certain things, I mean, what have you been eating? You know, it's just like the reason I say this is you're molding from the inside out. So you can listen to information and it's going to change your perception about life. Your life will change just by listening to information. Because you start to believe certain things that you hear online, and then you start to mold your reality in that way, right? Based on your faith, belief, and imagination. But anyway, I'm going to make other videos on that. And I'm also going to make the video on addictions. And that's about it. If you like this video and you like it, share, like, subscribe. If you want to support me, my PayPal is in the about section of my channel. Like I said, also as a reminder, make sure you check my playlist and look at that addictions playlist I have there. This way I'm going to tie in that video I'm going to be making on addictions that would pretty much tie into everything I've already spoke on before. So we will talk soon.